This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. Hope everybody had a safe and happy Halloween. I was just telling our guest today that I turned off all the porch lights and made the house look as unfriendly as possible once I realized that I had zero candy, not a single piece of candy in the house. And then I was like, don't the kids get upset these days? Anyway, no trick-or-treaters in my neck of the woods in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Big shout out to today's guest. Actually, I have been wanting to get Brett on for the last couple weeks following the updates, and we'll talk about what happened at the U.S. Open, but originally had James Niggemeyer scheduled for today. He's on a guide trip today. We'll get him on next week to kind of talk about his plans moving forward. Interesting show with Taylor Watkins yesterday about kind of being stuck in no man's land there, wanting to fish those upper levels, not being able to make a living at it in the opens. He's actually going back to the NPFL, but he also has 3 NPFL W's under his belt. So that's where he'll be in 2024. But let's bring in today's guest. He got up. I think I don't know if we'll bring Brett in. Are you Mountain or Pacific time? So is it 6:30 or 7:30 there?
It's 6:30. When you guys change, then we'll go to Mountain.
I don't think we change anymore.
Are we not changing?
No, we're done with that. I think daylight savings time's over.
Well, I heard that, but then I haven't really heard exactly, like a bunch of confirmations on that. But yeah,
Let me see right here.
We're Pacific then. See, Arizona was a state that never changed. So when it would change, we would always stay the same.
The U.S. is not planning to remain on daylight savings time year round.
Well, that'd be nice. Makes it a whole lot easier.
Here, will it be Senate passes a bill to make daylight savings time permanent in 2023? I don't think we had it because it gets light early and dark, but then it stays. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the same amount of daylight hours, I mean,
it might be next year. I don't know. I need to probably figure that out since we do a show at 8:30 a.m. on whether we're training or not. But thank you for getting up early. You did not do the whole trick-or-treating thing yesterday. You weren't up late handing out candy to the children.
No. I just watched Arizona Diamondbacks get smoked last night, but today's a different day. Hopefully they'll do a little better, but just kind of hung out, made a big old pot of chili, and just watched the game.
Are you a big baseball fan?
I like it. Obviously, when it's your home team, you gotta be rooting for them, and we've been watching pretty much all the games, so it's been a pretty cool deal to see the underdogs. They got one of the lowest salaries in all of the big leagues, and they're in the World Series, so anybody can do it.
All right. Wanted to get you on. Obviously, one of the scariest things that's happened that I can remember in recent memory. Now, I know we have, boat accidents, and you can think back to things that happen every year, but every once in a while, you are reminded that you are on a 21-foot fiberglass rocket going incredibly fast across the water, not strapped in with no helmet on. And at the U.S. Open on day one, I'd say the main story was you had a really scary incident happen.
Yeah. It was about 1:00. I was running up the lake to go to a spot where I'd caught like 4.5 pound smallmouth, and there was somebody on that spot. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to my next spot. And was just running down the middle of the lake. I mean, the wind was blowing like 5 miles an hour. It was pretty calm.
You were ripping.
Yeah, I was ripping full throttle. I was running like 65s around there, and I mean, just going straight. And something like a millisecond before it hit me, I saw something out of my peripheral in my right eye. Like I saw something black, and it hit me, so hard. It really felt like somebody hit me with a baseball bat, or like, pendulum a bowling ball, right? Right into my right eye socket, my temple area right here. And it didn't even cross my mind that it was a bird. I thought it hit me so hard. I thought like maybe something flew off the boat, whether, the prop nut off the trolling motor or the graph came off. But it just didn't make sense because I never saw it coming. And then my co-angler was like, man, it was a bird. And then I looked down and there was, guts all over the place, all over the boat. And it took my sunglasses off. I was holding my hat in this hand, in my left hand, and I looked down and there was just pools and pools of blood coming out of, I had a huge big gash right in my eyebrow. I got the stitches taken out last Friday, but anybody knows, like you get a cut in your, your face or your head, it has a tendency to bleed pretty bad. And so, I got a towel and got it on the cut and tried to get the bleeding to stop. And my co-angler's like, we got to go back. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. We got to go back, man. And what was bad is after I got the bleeding to stop, I opened my eye and I couldn't see anything. So
that had to be terrifying.
I drove the boat back one-eyed, and I told him as soon as and on Lake Mohave, you don't have good phone service. That's a bad thing about that place. So I told him as soon as we get to the no wake buoys at the marina, you call Billy and have them call 911. And I, pulled up to the dock, and they took me up into the restaurant there, and we got some ice and a towel on it, and of course, two of my buddies were sitting there, Tyrell with Mercury and Happy. They were getting ice cream cones when all this happened, and they literally sat and stared at me with like, I think Happy was like, he was ghost white, just staring at me. Because you guys know Happy with Powerful. He's such a thoughtful guy, and he was. Both of them were super, super worried. I mean, it was a scary deal. And Tyrell looks at me and he's like, "Hey, Brett, have you called Courtney?" And I'm like, "No, I probably should call her." He's like, "Yeah." So, long story short, paramedics came, they sat me down and, obviously looked at the huge gash. I had a lot of different scrapes right on my forehead, but the big gash over that right eyebrow. And they had me open. Yeah, they had me open my eye, and I could barely see their hand like go. I mean, I could just see the shadow of it like go across my eye, and they're like, "Yeah, we need to get you to the hospital." And got to Bullhead City Hospital. Saw a doctor was sitting there waiting for me when I got there. And so what he told me is, if you have blood like in the white of your eye, that's okay. That's they see a lot of trauma, or where you get a blood vessel broke in the white of your eye. But I had blood in the bottom blue part of my eye, like a quarter of it. And he said that could be a ruptured eye. So, yeah.
How long is all this after it happened? You said it happened at around 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
How long before
I probably got to the hospital about two something.
Okay, so this is relatively quick. This is way quicker than it would have been had it happened on Meade.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably a 20-minute ride to the hospital, from Catherine's there. And so the doctor tells me, he's like, normally we send people to Vegas. He goes, but I see, you're from Phoenix. You probably you don't want to go to Vegas. And I'm like, hell no, I don't want to go to Vegas. Like, I then my whole family's going to have to, drive or fly up there, and a lot of stuff. So he's like, okay, well, let me find out. He says, where do you live? I said, I live up in the North Valley, like Cave Creek. So he comes back. He's like, it's Scottsdale Osborne. You got to go to a trauma center where they have an ophthalmologist surgeon on call in case they have to do something to your eye. So he ordered a transfer, and I had to take a 4-hour ambulance ride to Scottsdale Osborne Medical Center, which is a trauma 1 level medical center.
That's the highest level.
It is, yeah. They see a lot of stuff, and I will be honest with you, they were absolutely amazing. They were sitting there waiting for me. I saw the doctor within like 5 minutes, and he was the trauma doctor, not necessarily the ophthalmologist, but he looked at it and he's like, man, it looks better than what they were saying. Obviously those guys in Bullhead City don't see a lot of real severe trauma. And since they don't have an ophthalmologist on call, they get kind of freaked out anytime you get an eye injury and just want to get you out of there. So he told me, normally if you have a real bad eye injury, your eye almost goes flat because you lost all the fluid in your eye. He's like, dude, your eye looks round, it still has that globe look to it. Yeah, it has that blood in there. Ended up doing 2 CT scans to make sure the eye wasn't ruptured and that I didn't have a bunch of bleeding behind my eye, which can produce pressure in your eye and cause some major issues. So my eye pressure was good, which that meant I didn't lose a bunch of fluid out of my eye. And then, they're looking for either low eye pressure, then they know that you've lost a bunch of fluid in your eye, or a real high eye pressure, which means, there's some kind of bleeding and, it's producing pressure. And then they had a teleconference with the ophthalmologist surgeon on call. I got to Scottsdale Osborne about 9:30 that night, and so this was getting late.
This has been a long day.
Yeah, that's what the ambulance guy, the paramedic that took me to one of them that took me to Scottsdale Osborne. He's like, man, have you gotten any sleep? I said, man, I got up at 3:30 this morning. He's like, it's going to be a long night. So
were they lights going for 4 hours?
No, just driving.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I tried to get some sleep, and, a lot of things go through your head in 4 hours by yourself, sitting in pretty much a gurney strapped in, about what could happen to your eye, and, things that you kind of take for granted on having your full vision. But after they did a teleconference with the ophthalmologist, they came to the conclusion I didn't have a ruptured eye. She wanted to see me in her office the next morning. They stitched me up, and I got to go home. Got home about 3:30, 3:45 that morning.
Holy cow.
And it was funny. So I told Courtney when I was like, they don't want to give you any water or anything because they don't know if they're got to do surgery. And so finally we get in the car, and I told Courtney, I'm like, hey, I got to get something to eat. I've literally had one piece of string cheese and like a pack of trail mix. And she's like, babe, there's not going to be anything open. Well, luckily we're in downtown Scottsdale. I look over, there's a McDonald's, 24/7 McDonald's. I'm like, pull in there. I'm like, I'd take anything right now. And I had like 2 cheeseburgers and a Coke, and it was like, oh, it was like the best meal ever. But Yeah, got like 7 stitches in my eyebrow, and
But didn't break any bone, cheekbone, eye bone, orbital, nose stuff. Didn't break anything.
No, was lucky on that, and they would have seen that in the CT scan. Yeah, just super sore. Next morning, my eye was pretty much swole shut. And you try to go to the ophthalmologist. They're like, "Can you open your eye?" I'm like, "I'm trying, man. Like, can you pry it open?" Like,
but can you see out of it by the next morning? Like, when were you able to start actually like being like, okay, I'm going to be able to see out of the eye again? Because that had to be probably the most scary part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So the whole way there, I just kept my eyes shut on the ambulance ride, and just try to, not stress the eye out too much. But when I got to Scottsdale Osborne, I had 20/30 vision out of that eye, which they were like super impressed about that. And yeah, so the next day I could see it was just a little, foggy. There's a bunch of drainage in your eye, coming out all the cuts and stuff like that. But went to the ophthalmologist. She just, put me on a couple different drops. And she said, it's going to be hazy for a while. You got a lot of blood like floating around in there. She said, I don't want you doing anything. Pretty much just kind of put me on house arrest, just hang out and don't do anything severe, just pretty much boring. After the second day, I was like, man, this sucks. But saw her last Tuesday, and pretty much cleared me to go do whatever I want. She said it's going to get better as that blood gets out of your eye. And man, for like probably the last 4 or 5 days, it's been pretty much back to normal. Every once in a while, that eye, the pupil's a little bit more dilated than my other eye, just because it's trying to repair itself. So, bright lights, stuff like that is, you kind of get a little haziness, a little streaky every once in a while, not all the time. So, but man, just super fortunate, just a super freak deal. And, of course, had a lot of people scared, including me. I mean, I told, the doctor there at the Trauma 1 Level Center, I said, I've been on top level tour for 23 years and, drove a boat a long time before that. I probably driven a bass boat 50,000 miles in my career. And I mean, yeah, we've run over coots and, stuff like that, but just to literally get blindsided and never see them coming. I had no chance to duck or anything like that. And it was a scary deal.
And so to clarify, this wasn't a deal where you were like, oh, there's 1,000 coots that are all swimming at water level and I'm going to blast through them to get to my next spot. This was a lone ranger that popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was one of those like a brown seagull. And my co-angler said he saw him, and he, how they swoop down to whether they're getting shad or whatever.
Yeah.
So he swooped down, and it was just like, I mean, just an oddball deal. Like he swooped down from, pretty good elevation and just absolutely cold cocked me right in the face.
So do you know what part of the bird you got? Like, was it the beak or the body? But you said it exploded on your face. Like there were guts and feathers and all that.
Well, no, there was, just on the boat, there was, guts and stuff all around, where I was sitting, but I never saw the bird anymore.
And you've never had, I mean, you said you've had close calls before, but never in all those years have you had one hit you before?
Yeah. I've had like a coot hit the windshield and stuff. And, every once in a while you run through some of those coots and stuff like that, where they
hunker down a little.
Yeah. And you see them coming, you duck down or, you put, cover your face, but never anything like this where I literally never saw them coming.
The weird part is, I mean, it's a bird, so has some bones and cartilage and hard spots, but you thought, you thought it was a graft or the nut off of your I mean, that's how hard that impact was it? What were you going, 65 miles an hour?
65, yeah. And I mean, yeah, I never thought it was a bird because it hit me that hard. Like, I mean, seriously, it
Just
felt
not
like
completely numb, or was it pain?
yeah, pain. Yeah.
Oh, it was pain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like it felt like you wound up with a baseball bat and hit me right in the eye socket.
So I want to ask about the glasses, because so the original, there were all sorts of crazy reports going on. The original report that I heard was that it was a brown pelican, like the size of a, like the size of a Rottweiler, one of those, and that your glasses exploded and the lens shards went into your eye and you're blind. Like that was the original thing that I heard.
Yeah, pelican would have taken my head off.
That's what I thought. But so the glasses, do you think they saved you? They helped, but there was no glass shards or lens or anything that broke and went into the eye.
No.
Okay, that's key in this.
Yeah, that is key. I mean, yeah, that was a kind of a scary deal. My glasses, when it hit it, they got ripped off, so I can't really tell you for sure what happened. But it's just you think about that, that's always a possibility. So yeah, it's just a freak scary deal, but just glad to be able to see,
and you'll have full vision and everything when it all comes back. Like, I mean, I can't tell a difference right now looking at you, which I mean, I thought it would still be a little mangled.
Yeah, no, I mean, like on my forehead, I still got a couple little scars up here.
Yeah.
And then right here's where my stitches were. But
a good hockey player look.
Yeah. I mean, hey, this face wasn't that pretty to begin with, so I mean, it didn't really hurt it too bad. But yeah, no, everything should be good. Full recovery, and like right now, I'm looking at you guys, and I mean, seems like a normal day.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Your co-angler was like, I'm weighing these suckers in.
Yeah. He's like, what should we do? I'm like, well, he goes, should we just keep them in the live well? Like when we pulled up the dock, I'm like, no, just have Billy, like, just go weigh them in, and
but you had a big one too, didn't you?
Yeah. I had a 4.5, somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah, and then I had to, rub it into a couple of my buddies that I fished for half a day and still beat them, and after 3. But, I got to get my shots in every once in a while.
So is there anything you're going to do differently from now on? I mean, I'd say you're halfway through your career. You got another half. You gonna do anything different, or is it just a freak? I mean, you going to go with like industrial strength goggles, a bike helmet, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of a freak deal. It's just one of those things that you look at, and I mean, stuff can happen when you're driving a bass boat at high speeds. Anything can happen. We've seen some not so great boat wrecks in the last 5 years, and some scary stuff happening, but you can't control the uncontrollables, and you can't live life scared like that. You just try to make the best decisions and keep yourself out of those scenarios. But, this is one that literally was just a random deal.
When you think about how many birds and stuff you hit while you're driving cross country, and then you think of how many more birds, like the density of birds is greater on the water, specifically during certain times of the year. It's amazing that we don't see more of this when you actually think about it. Because, I mean, you're right at that level. You're completely exposed, especially the co-angler. Like, you would think you'd see co-anglers and marshals just eating waterfowl left and right.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, usually, you're scaring them. And it's usually coming towards, from the front. So you got a second or two to react, or even a little bit more than that, but when you can't see them coming, I mean, it's just, it was, I mean, literally a millisecond, and I must have closed my eye before the impact, which, probably could have, probably helped on, having anything get in the eye.
I mean, I also know sometimes they say that when you're not expecting it, like a lot of car accidents, you're actually less injured when it comes out of nowhere because you're relaxed and you don't like tense up. So all your muscles aren't super tense. So you're more, I don't know if that had anything to do with how you kind of avoided any serious structural damage or anything, but it didn't get your nose at all. It was just the side of your face and eye.
Yeah. And I mean, you could see even on my my left-hand side here where the impact, like, and on the bridge of my nose where your sunglasses sit, like I was bruised right there because it hit me so hard. I was bruised right on the right on my
Bridge of the nose.
And you know, on both sides where you could see where the sunglasses, the bottom of the frame hit me, and it bruised my cheeks. So that's what kind of impact it had.
I was thinking of some of the freak ones that come to my mind. And I remember in Florida, one of the guys hit a gator and spun him out, like completely lost it in the channel. I think Remitz had a really freak accident on the Mississippi River out of Iowa one year. Where his marshal was injured, but one of those things where he kind of lost steering and ended up in the woods. And then obviously Shin on Kentucky Lake with the bridge piling.
Yeah.
And then were you fishing? Didn't Gabe Boulevard have a freak accident happen to him too, where he got chucked out of the boat and had some injuries there?
I remember Gary Dobbins got thrown out of a boat at one of the National Guard events on the Delta and fractured his back. You know, that was a bad deal too. You know, I mean, it can happen. You know,
yeah, just freak stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between different, driving and inclement weather and conditions, which we've seen that happens to every vessel captain. But just the stuff where you did nothing wrong, you were just rolling.
Yeah, I was just going straight down the lake. I mean, it wasn't anything that just we talked about. You can't control the uncontrollables, and it was uncontrollable. I mean, like I never I don't know what to tell you. It's just a freak deal.
I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to. I feel like you, with everything being okay now, it looks like you're going to have your vision, and you're still going to have the dapper good looks moving forward. I think you missed a golden opportunity yesterday for a Halloween costume.
Yeah, a buddy of mine said, I want to get you a Seagull costume.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, you should have gone as Fabio. Remember when Fabio took a gold? I'm playing it right now. This is Fabio taking a gold to the face on a roller coaster.
Yeah, I heard about this. I heard about this at the hospital. It was like three of the nurses told me, like, oh, you're like Fabio. And what's so funny is, like, that level 1 trauma center, I mean, they see a lot of stuff, and they're like, a doctor would come in or a nurse would come in and they'd be like, man, a bird strike? This one's going down in the record books. And
they hadn't had that before.
No, that doesn't happen every day. So I guess, that's at least I got some, record book deal out of the deal. But
I got you.
I mean, when the trauma 1 doctor tells you, man, this is going down in the record books, you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but, it's like I think everyone kind of goes to the ER for that first hook in the hand.
Yeah.
And it's either I feel like the stories are either a hospital where everyone's like, hey, can we add this to the wall of like 8,000 hooks? Or it's like everybody on deck, we have no idea. We've never seen a hook in a body part before. We may have to amputate. It's one or the other. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, you go to like a place like, let's say the Okeechobee Hospital or something. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. We got this thing. And then you go to some random place and they're like, uh-oh, we don't know what to do with this. But yeah, just lucky, man. And I appreciate, I mean, I got such a awesome feedback and just thoughts and prayers from so many people. And I mean, it just, you realize what a tight tight fishing community that we have in the bass world, and everybody kind of thinks about each other, and we all try to take care of each other.
How many texts and calls would you say you had over the next week?
I mean, hundreds,
Yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of messages on Instagram and Facebook. I think I had 600 messages on Facebook and maybe 300 or 400 on Instagram, something like that. I mean,
it is interesting, and it is cool to see you everyone kind of, all independent contractors, you kind of live in your own bubble. You're trying to do and survive and provide for your family and all that. But then when something happens, you do realize it's a big family. There's a lot of people that are out there that you impact and you get to know over the years of traveling around the country.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, talk to, we talked to a lot of people over a long career, and like you said, whether you're they're good friends or just somebody that you have met and impacted through your career. It's pretty cool.
I do want to get one fishing question in before I let you leave.
Okay.
And regardless of who I ask, whenever we do the finesse fishing shows and all that, you always come up as one of the innovative guys from the West Coast who brought the drop shot into the mainstream on the FLW tour and what were they, Ever Starts and things back then, took it out east. I've talked to you about it. This is kind of dovetails into our next guest. Second half of the show, we're going to have Jody White on, who's going to talk about the Toyota Championship going on Table Rock. He has he's one of the guys who's done it a lot this year, but you've seen Jacob Wheeler, you've seen this Demiki strolling rig that's blown up with the bubble deal and shit. Like, that's a super finesse. Have you really dove into that yet? Is that like the new drop shot now? And what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, that seems like a bait that would be tailor-made for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's another way to trick them. It's a Japanese, just really kind of mimics a bait fish, and it kind of has a rolling action to it. I have tried it. I haven't really been successful with it, but I mean, I know guys who've been using it, and it is something that's it's just something they haven't seen. You can, especially with forward-facing sonar, you're looking for any little edge. I mean, you go to any smallmouth fishery, and it's like how many drop shots have zipped by their face, or Ned rigs or whatever, Nico rigs or something like that. So it's just something that's just a little, something different that they haven't seen that mimics a bait fish. And obviously it's some guys have been definitely successful with.
Is that something that you're going to spend a lot more time on during this off season, or something that is just part of the arsenal and you're not that enthralled with it? Or will you dedicate time to go out and be like, all right, I got to figure out this?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, obviously I have a lot of Japanese connections, so I understand, what the right setups are and things like that. And, it's a really good forward facing deal, and it's, for those suspended fish that are normally hard to catch, even with the drop shot, if you don't get it right on their nose, that a lot of time they're not going to see it. So, I mean, this thing's going to stay kind of in that water column where, the fish, whether he wants to come up for it or you get it right in the same column as him. So just keep it in the strike zone a little bit longer.
All right. And then one more question. I had someone wanted to know, I don't know, ask about the new Evergreen Combat Stick.
Yeah.
New rod out.
Yeah. So we have one whole new line of rods, which replaced the EVA camo gripped, which is the original combat stick that we had in the US. It worked on a bunch of new actions. They're lighter, as you know, Matt, like, in 4 or 5 years, just how that technology and rods advance. And I mean, you can make a rod that performs so much better and pretty much keep it at the same price point. And then, of course, we came out with the Super Combat Stick this year, which is it's more of a true JDM high-end evergreen rod, and it was just in my chatterbait action, which is a 7.3 heavy action rod, and it's more of that $450 price range compared to the regular combat stick is around that $220, $230 price point. So I mean the Super Combat Stick, I mean it's the most ultimate jackhammer rod you could have, but you're going to pay a little bit more for it.
All right, you got anything else? I'm just impressed we got 36 minutes and 24 seconds before the word chatterbait was mentioned in a Brett Hite interview. I'd like to point that as probably our interview record.
New record, yeah.
Yep, new record. Anything else? Anything else, Brett? Oh, you're a Starbucks guy. Did not see that one coming.
Oh, my wife went to Starbucks this morning.
What are we doing? Are you? What's the order?
Normally I'm just like a Americano guy, but I got a vanilla latte today.
You're not doing pumps, skinny additions. None of that. Don't lie. Don't lie. You're not
just a vanilla latte, iced vanilla latte. I mean, I could just drink regular black coffee with cream, or that's normally my go-to, a little Black Rifle.
Yeah, but that's what I'm rolling with. I mentioned it on the show, and then they sent me like 180 K-cups. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean that's the coffee I drink all the time.
Yep.
But my wife just got a little frisky. She got up early this morning. She had to get some work done, so she wanted to roll up to the Bucks.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to let you go. We'll take a break. I would also like to remind you, based on the previous time you were on, I have good money if you ever do any spring cleaning this year or anything, you come across that Imodium AD Chewables jersey. I still want that in the BTL studio. You said it exists somewhere, but that you weren't able to locate it.
I have not found it yet, but you
okay.
Never know.
If that is found, I would like to be the first on your call list to be able to.
You got it if I find it.
All right. Thanks, Brett. Right. Thanks for getting up early. Glad to hear everything is okay in a really scary situation that took place at the 41st annual One Bass US Open this past year.
Thanks, Matt.
See ya. All right. That is Brett Hite. We are going to take our first break of the show. And when we come back, we will check in with Jody White from a very chilly Table Rock Lake. Folks, this is a $200,000 plus tournament. It is the Toyota Championship. If you look at the skill level, talent level from across the country, I would venture to say that it is probably the hardest tournament to win, especially with 200 boats in this deal that is going right now in competitive bass fishing. So BTL on a Wednesday, kicking off the month of November. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top one on Strike King.
All right, guys, if you're a construction worker, soccer dad, soccer mom, you want to be outdoors, you've seen the Reaper. This right here is the zip-up full Reaper, but it's windproof, folks, windproof. And it actually has the mast built in. It's behind me. I mean, if you can look good, feel good, and stay warm, you better check it out. It's the zip-up Reaper. That's right, windproof.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves the house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for everyday carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips, so if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Shoreline Boat and RV, dock rash, storm damage, collision repair, that deep scratch or gouge from trying to access that secret creek. Shoreline Boat and RV can get your prized possession back in mint condition and looking good on the water, fast. All repairs are done in-house, so they're able to get your boat or RV back to brand new, quickly. All Shoreline's work comes with a rock-solid warranty. Find out more at shorelineboatandrv.com. Kansas City, Austin, and Tulsa. We are back, BTL, on a Wednesday. Would like to remind everybody, I talked about it on yesterday's show. There is a link in the bio, a link in the show description on YouTube, the Bass Talk Live YouTube. My title sponsor for the last 3 years and going forward into the 2024 Bassmaster Open EQs is Best on Tour, weekly industry newsletter that goes directly to your inbox. They don't send you a bunch of other stuff or anything like that. You just go to bestontour.net to sign up for that. If you listen to BTL, if you support BTL, a fan of the show, you need to go to bestontour.net and sign up for this. Massive help. They're also doing a Understanding Angler Performance survey. The link to this survey, it takes less than a minute. It's 10 quick questions. Click on the link, fill that out. Do me a favor, support Best on Tour. Allows me to go out and catch more 12-pound limits next year. So big shout out to that. All right, let's get to our next guest, Bassmaster Open champion and all things MLF. And I think he's on like a 19 tournament win streak. No, I think you fished one that you didn't win recently, didn't you, Jody?
Yeah, Gino and I finished second in the last one. So
okay.
Way downhill. Terrible season.
Yeah. It kind of derailed the whole season there with that runner-up finish. Jody White, it looks, I would assume, unless you live in a Days Inn, that you are on location at, I mean, nothing against you if you do, different strokes for different folks, but appears as though you are in a very chilly Missouri right now, preparing to cover the Toyota Series Championship on a frosty Table Rock Lake.
Yeah, I can actually see the lake right now, or well, when I look at it, and it's I can see it now, which is a cool thing. Earlier there was a lot of fog. I think that there's a very good chance we don't fish like any full days.
I've talked to several anglers who said that they might not even show up to the boat ramp until around 8.
Yeah, I mean, that would be taking a little bit of a chance, but honestly, it might work out for them because it was like 19 degrees this morning. I think it's going to be quite a bit warmer during the tournament, but it's still going to be like in the 30s or 40s every morning, and then getting up into the 60s or so and 50s by the end of the day, which will be really nice, honestly, at weigh-in, but it's not going to be super fun early.
Okay, was I incorrect? And I know you work for MLF, so you're going to agree with this. But do you know, because I have it written here, it'll take me forever. This has to be the best bang for your buck as far as payout for performance that exists right now in competitive bass fishing. Like,
absolutely.
This thing is unreal. Like, the only thing that I could think of that used to do this was, remember the TBF national champion back in the day used to get like all their entry fees paid for, plus $100,000, plus a boat and a truck and all their expenses paid on tour and all that stuff. But that doesn't exist anymore. But the Toyota Series, as far as this championship right here, and the roughly 200 guys that are in it are fishing for some major simoleons.
Yeah. I remember, I think back in the winter, you had someone on who talked about like the various payout percentages of all the different tours. And the Toyota Series is like, it's solid, it's fine. And then you count the championship and it's like a real separator. And the Toyota Series, like if you have a good year and you make the championship, it's a free event and it pays out really well. Like 200 plus whatever contingency stuff you have is huge for the winner. They also qualify for Red Crest. If you're the top finisher from like any division, you get like an extra 10 grand just on top of whatever you win or don't win. You know, there's sometimes where the Western Division guy or an international division guy, they might not even get a check, but they might walk away with 10 grand for being the top finisher in that division. So it's a really cool tournament. I love Toyota Series events, and I love this tournament. It's probably one of my 3 favorite tournaments of the year that we run.
Hypothetically, let's say you run a Phoenix and you have all of your ducks in a row as far as incentives, right? Just this is ballpark.
Yeah.
And you pop this one. You get all the glory, honor, and prestige that goes along with being a Toyota Series champion. But then you also get $200K. What's the additional Phoenix money on that then?
So it's 200 plus 35, so you'd be at 235.
And then if you won the division, that'd be another 10.
Well, we changed that this year. It used to be first place could also win the division bonus. Now we give it to the person below.
I got you. Okay, so but you do make Red Crest, which is 10.
Yeah.
So 245.
10, I would guess at the minimum. Maybe you do better, right?
Yeah.
And then like if you depending on the motor you run or something like that, like if you're running a Mercury, I'm sure there's money there.
It's $250,000. It's the third highest payout outside of Red Crest and the Classic.
It's huge, and you had to fish maybe only 2 events, because if you win one, you just straight qualify in. But certainly like at most 3 events to make it realistically.
Big names that we need to be watching out for on Table Rock. You're doing a lot of the coverage and stories for this tournament. Kind of break down what we're expecting. I know there's been a massive cold front there. What are we looking at? What kind of patterns, and who should we be on the lookout for?
So I think that the 2 patterns are somebody who fishes pretty shallow, right? Maybe it's a dock thing. Maybe it's a brush pile thing. Maybe it's just a plopper on the bank. Maybe it's way up a river, right? And I think that, 5 years ago, that was the odds-on favorite to win. Right now, I think the odds-on favorite to win is somebody who fishes probably pretty deep to very deep and does a lot of scoping. Although I've heard there's like a glide bait bite happening, which I guess that would count as shallow and would be super dope. But anyway, I think that it's probably pretty scope heavy, which is right up my alley. Although, I know other people's mileage may vary on that. And that being the case, I think that like number 1 as far as favorites go is Cody Huff. He really built his year around fishing this tournament and making sure he could get there. He's an Elite Series pro. He's also won 2 Toyota Series events. He won them both scoping. He is like experienced on the lake and one of the best live scopers alive. And then you can just go down the list and just every division has like 5 guys.
Dude, this is the first time I've looked at it. It's absolutely insane.
Oh, every division has like 5 guys who are awesome at scoping. And then like another 5 or 10 guys who are just awesome at fishing. Like the Northern Division has Marshall Robinson in it, who is like 19 years old. Maybe he's 20 now, and he's incredible at it. It's also got Kyle Hall and Nick Hatfield. If you look in like the Plains division, it's got Cole Breeden. It's got Dennis Bearhorst, who's like an Ozarks legend. And then like Harlan and Harriman, Jelinek, like there's just Jake Lawrence. Like you could put like 50 guys together and be like,
I got the list right here.
To win the
I'm starting from the bottom up. I mean, starting on the wild card division, dude. You got Spencer Shuffield, who's, I mean, how if it's a scope deal, if it's an Ozark deal, you got Jeff Reynolds, Britt Myers, Tristan McCormick, Andrew Loberg, one of the top young West Coast anglers, Chris Jones out of Oklahoma, like you said, Cody Huff. I mean, I'm going to miss some, but I mean, I'm doing a lot of name recognition too. Brett Chapman. You got Bobby Lane, Justin Lucas, Todd Castledine, Dakota Ebert, Ish Monroe, Nick Salvucci, U.S. Open champ. I mean, dude, I just named a couple of them that are in this tournament right now.
Yeah, like whichever direction you start on the field list, you started at the bottom, I started at the top. Like it is incredible how many really good anglers there are. Like whoever wins this thing, super earned it. Like there are a lot of tournaments where you have maybe 10 guys who are super well suited to a place, and then maybe 10 locals, right? Mm-hmm. And this tournament has probably 30 guys who are really well suited to it, plus 30 locals. I mean, it's going to be a really, really good tournament, I think. And I hope it stays really close, because one thing that's different this year is the top 25 fish the last day, which usually it's the top 10 in the Toyota Series.
Yep.
And at the championship anyway. And if it stays really close, I think there's a potential for like us to have, legitimately, 10 or more people like realistically in the hunt. And I know Table Rock has some big fish in it. Like you can pop a big bag. I wouldn't say it's extremely, extremely likely, because it sounds like it's fishing kind of tough, but it should be a really good tournament.
Total weight wise, then like 15 to 18 a day, or I know Table Rock can also pump out 20, but the guys I've talked to said it's a little, like you mentioned, it's a transition period. The water hasn't really cooled off as quickly as I guess he thought it would. You've seen the pictures of Bobby Lane's graphs frozen solid and all sorts of stuff like that. But I mean, water temp, we're still in the upper 50s, low 60s out there, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's a deep lake too, so it's not like the water temperature is going to crash, But I gotta think that like 15 pounds is going to be really good. I think 18 a day probably wins. Mm-hmm. I feel like it just seems unlikely that someone would average 20 a day here, even though we're in a brave new world when it comes to techniques and stuff like that. It just seems like I haven't seen it happen before here necessarily this time of year. And I think that 17, 18 pound range is going to be extremely, extremely good.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to bet against Dakota Ebert anyway, either. Or Justin
Wood.
Yeah, no, this is insane.
I still gotta call Cody Huff today, and he might be like, "Oh yeah, they're right where I want them," and then I'll tell you it's going to take 20 a day.
Yeah, I mean that's so typically when it gets really cold out there, the fish get set up and they don't really move for a couple months. They chase the bait, but they'll stay in the same general area. And once you find them, and you know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but once you find them, it's just a matter of, hey, is this a 2.5 pound spot, a 3.25 pound smallmouth? I mean, go back to, we just had to how the U.S. Johnny Morris U.S. Open was won. And like, you can get on a pretty good school of fish on bait. And we've seen how dominant Cody Huff can be with the jigging spoon, with the Demiki rig, with the ice fishing deal. I mean, once you figure that out, it's like, get there, mill around, and don't freak out. And at some point during the day, you're going to have 5 over 3 eat your stuff. I don't think it's like that this time around because of the warmer weather.
I think so. And one of the things about that warmer weather is, like the warmer the water temperature, to a degree, the more fish like move, like the faster they move, right? Like when you're dealing with water that's like legitimately in the 40s and low 50s, like a lot of times the fish don't really move that fast. And here, from what I have like been able to gather, is a lot of those deep fish, the scope fish, they're very deep. They're like 30 to 60 feet down, And then they're also moving really fast. And like on Champlain, our alewife feeders, you know, they might be moving really fast, but generally speaking, they're like between 0 feet down and 30 feet down, right? They're not mostly extremely far down in the water column. Here you have fish that are pretty deep and moving pretty fast, which like adds a really level of difficulty to hit them with a lighter bait. And I think that the locals around here are probably the guys who are really experienced with heavier baits, you know, like actually hitting them with a 3/4 ounce Damiki or jig and wrap or something like that. And that's not something that like a broad part of the country has a lot of experience in. So I think that'll be something interesting to watch, to like see exactly where in the water column guys are catching their scope fish, just because, you know, we've even seen like when Huff won here, I think it was 2020. He caught them deep like the first 2 days, and then the last day he caught like mostly smallmouth, and they were like 10 feet down. And so, you know, we could see all of that, but we could also, you know, see really a section of the water column be the hot section. And I think that like how deep it is and how difficult those fish are to target could really like make the cream rise to the top.
People want to follow this for the next today's an off day. They've been practicing for what, 3 days. Today's an off day. I assume you have the meeting, take care of all the logistics, and then they take off from the state park tomorrow. 3-day tournament, cut to the top 10 on final day,
top
or
25,
each division, top 25. Make sure you get all the guys at each division, and follow just along on majorleaguefishing.com. Any live stuff for this, or is it just Jody White articles this week is what we're gifted with?
It's articles. We've got 4 folks out here taking photos. They'll do a fantastic job. They're going to make a TV show out of it on the final day, but not live. Weigh-in will be live, obviously, like usual, but, you know, mostly I think folks will be reading what I write, and hopefully looking at a lot of really good pictures, because it's very scenic here right now, and I've got a really top-level crew at this one.
I'm looking up the weather. 1 second. I'm just looking up spring. Oh, you guys will have amazing picture taking and tournament coverage weather from your end. You got 62, 66, and 67 and 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little chilly, a little on the chilly side, but at night, 38, 45, and 52, but nothing like the 20s that we saw. Nothing like the 20s that we saw during practice.
Yeah, the weather is going to be a lot better during the tournament than it was in practice. I don't know if that'll matter to the fish or not, but it's certainly make it more comfortable for everyone here.
Yeah. I would like to see it come down to a scope versus plopper showdown between 2 guys, one guy exclusively scoping, one guy exclusively ploppering. That is a possibility here. You don't get that very often.
It's a real possibility. And I mean, you look at the field and there's guys who could do that. I mean, Jeremy Lawyer's in this field, and he could do either one of those things.
Oh yeah. How do we not mention him?
And like, it's you know, it's definitely a tournament where you have a chance to have a real old school versus new school clash, which would be pretty fun.
All right. Anything else we need to get in here before I let you go? I know you're actually working on articles as we speak and carved out some time to jump on BTL, which is much appreciated.
One thing I would mention, which is not really work related or anything, but some folks know I have been working a lot to keep herbicide out of one of my favorite local lakes. We have a new organization called the Lake Mohave Environmental Alliance, which is basically just open for membership as of this morning. It's lakebomoseen.org.
How do you spell that?
LAKEBOMOSEEN.org. BOMOSEEN.
Okay, sorry. I just making sure that I'm trying to pull it up so I can throw it up. So lakebomoseen.
Oh yeah.
.org.
Yep. But anyway, we're open for membership today, and we're gonna do our best to make sure that there it is. Beautiful. We're gonna do our best to make sure that Vermont's best lake stays that way for a long time. and it's
Right.
$10 to become a member. I would love to see. I'd love to see a national level of membership for it, just because it's something we worked really hard on.
Is this a deal where it's a kick-ass lake and they're spraying it, and this is a group saying, "Hey, stop spraying this"?
Well, they're actually not spraying it yet. They did want to, but we stopped them, and they might want to again, and we're going to stop them again.
For $10.
And it's a pretty incredible lake. It's got 6-pound smallmouth, 8-pound largemouth. Like, it's legitimately, it's a gem. And we want to keep it like that for a long time.
Lake Bomoseen, BOMOSEEN.org for more information about this.
Thank you.
Are you kind of spearheading this?
I'm one of the people who's spearheading it. I'm the secretary of the organization. We have a board of, a couple of bass fishermen and a lot of folks who just really love the lake. Some science teachers, librarians, a bait shop owner, like, you name it, we've got it.
There you go. Check that out, regardless of where you live. Hey, anything that has environmental, angler friendly stuff like that, it's talked about far less than it should be, mainly because it's not thrilling and exciting to talk about. And that's the struggle with, I know Gene Gilliland will say that with bass as well. I just say that because he's been on the show a lot, and I'm sure over at MLF it's the same conservation wise. There. Super important, hard to get eyeballs, hard to get people to activate.
It's hard to get views on it. I mean, I can, and so I'm sure your listeners are just leaving in droves right now, but I can put a nice photo and a caption about the lake and some sort of environmental effort up on Instagram, and you'll pull like 50 or 100 likes or whatever. And then I can put a picture of me with a fish or some other guy with a fish, and it'll do 3 or 4 times that, and it's like, well, there you go. And it's just kind of part of the fight, I suppose. Yeah. There's some comments in the, is it no classic for you when you won your open? You didn't fish all 3, so you just got the $50K cash basically. Yep, which isn't a bad it's a great consolation prize. But the classic would be super cool.
All right, what are you fishing next year? You figured that out yet?
Man, I gotta kind of work through the schedule a little bit. Nothing really lines up well for me. What I really want to do is fish the Toyota Series, honestly, because I love the Northern Division. But I work here and I can't fish those events.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to end up fishing like a bunch of ABAs and local stuff and just kind of whatever I can get in around the house, because I don't really want to drive that far. And man, the fishing is so good close by. It's hard to, not catch them.
No BS. I'm asking this question, so don't be humble about it. How many tournaments from local all the way up to the Open did you win this year in 2023?
I did make a little list. Let me real quickly count.
Because it seemed like every time I opened up social media, you'd be like, fortunate enough to catch these 2 8-pound Northern strain. It has to be over 15. Between everything, between ABAs, what'd you win? 3 ABAs this year?
I did win 3 ABAs this year.
Open.
I fished 19 tournaments this year, whether counting Tuesday nighter to, anything else, and I won 11 tournaments this year.
Good Lord.
So it was a really good season.
All doing the same thing? Like, did you figure out something magical mystery thing, or did you catch them all doing different, a lot of them doing different stuff?
Well, so I won some Lake Tarpon Tuesday nighters with my buddy in Florida, and that was definitely not doing Jody things. And honestly, like, there's a handful of them where I'm like, this was in my wheelhouse. I caught them, XYZ. But like the Oneida one, the Oneida ABA, I caught one on a popper, and I caught the one on a drop shot, and I caught the rest dragging a jig, like exactly what everyone else does on Oneida. So like, it was kind of a combo. I mean, some of it was just fishing normal ways. Some of it was, doing a lot of scoping. Like I caught them a lot of ways this year. Like it was a wildly good year of fishing, which is a blast. So I don't know. It's not like I fished really well just throughout. It's not like I was able to carry a secret technique just to every corner of my life and have success with it.
I believe October 14th through 16th is the U.S. Open on Mohave. Dude, you talk about doing Jody things. That's like, that needs to be on your list this year if you're available for that derb.
Dude, I have wanted to fish that tournament for so long. I really think the first time I fish it, I want to fish it as a co-angler just because it's a long way away and it looks super cool. And I think if I got my feet wet and if it kept, like, I think eventually it's something I would love to fish as a boater. It's obviously just a long way away. But
co-angler, you find someone, if you want to do that, you find someone who's going out there, you put your tackle, or you either drive with them like I did with Hallman in 18, or you send your tackle with them and then you fly out there.
Yeah, no, that would be the way to do it. And like, the problem is there's not too many guys going from the Northeast. We're about as far away as it possibly is.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a scenario where I find my way out there in the fall some year because it's a bucket list kind of tournament. The fact that it's open, like, to qualify for, the Cup, the Classic, Red Crest, stuff like that, like, you have to qualify, right? And you have to have, well, one, you have to be good enough to qualify, but two, you have to have time to devote to all that. The U.S. Open, the fact that like I could just hop in a tournament of that caliber is really pretty cool. And it's something that I would like to fish someday for sure.
All right. Anything else before I let you go? Like I said, greatly appreciate the time. I know that you're busy working on articles and stuff for Major League Fishing. So.
No, man, I'm all good. MajorLeagueFishing.com for the tournament, and thanks for letting me get on my soapbox about weeds.
Lake Bonamon? Boomerman?
Bomazine, Bomoseen.
Bomazine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
on my Instagram, I've got a link to it like right there if people have a hard time or something like that.
Like me?
Theoretically.
All right. Thanks, Jody. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks, man.
All right. See ya. All right. That is Jody White. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, talk about what we have going on for the rest of the week. Guest contest, things you can win, stuff like that. BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw. Great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got sparkle shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte sexy shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte sexy shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Having confidence in your tackle while on the water is one of the main things to success, in my opinion. In the last couple of years with Denali, I've had just that. From anything from spinning rods, casting rods, tungsten products, even now to casting and spinning reels, I have the confidence to go out there and get the job done and know that all my equipment is going to handle it and do it just the way I want it. The thing about Denali is you've got great quality products at a great price point, so make sure you check them out.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com. All right, big shout out to today's guest, Brett Hite, talking about a scary incident, hitting a bird at 65 miles an hour at the U.S. Open. And then Jody White talking about what's going on at Table Rock Lake this week for the Toyota Series Championship. Today is the last day that if you carved a pumpkin, a fishing-related BTL Day 4 related pumpkin, you can either tag us on Uncle Frank here, Frank Scalish, or myself at Matt Pangrak on Instagram. You can also email me that. We have a lot of submissions that Uncle Frank is going to have to go through today before the show tomorrow. Two winners, a set of DD22s and a set of Norman Fat Boys tomorrow. Uncle Frank is back. Same place, same time. Day 4 with Uncle Frank at 8:30, and then next week we're going to have some recorded shows. I'll be in Table Rock. We're going to have some live shows from Table Rock. I'm actually fishing Table Rock the week after the Toyota Series, and then I head to St. Jude on the 13th and 14th to look at that amazing facility and meet a lot of those people in Memphis, Tennessee. But that's all we got for today. Uncle Frank tomorrow. Don't forget, fill out the angler behavior survey. Links in the bio. We'll talk to everybody on Thursday. See ya.